What is it we love about theme park management simulators? Is it the childlike fantasy of designing your own thrill rides, managing finances, the color, the whimsy, or maybe it's cleaning up trash and vomit from ungrateful patrons as they complain about the minutia of not having enough food to eat or water to drink? Don't worry, they'll learn respect when you send them flying from incomplete coaster tracks to their demise. Well, at any rate, there's something about theme park simulators that keep us coming back for more. In this simulator subgenre, there existed one franchise that dominated the market since the late 90s, and that franchise was Roller Coaster Tycoon. A rework of the groundbreaking Transport Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon made micromanagement fun and colorful, whereas now there exist whimsical simulators for every activity from flying planes to cleaning toilets. Most simulators of the past were very cut and dry, lacking creativity. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree in regards to the development of theme park simulators. Once the reins were passed to Frontier Development in 2002, a brief hiatus of theme park sims occurred after a third installment of Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. But in 2007, Frontier and Atari made a return to the theme park formula, and that's where we pick up with the story of ThrillVille. In many ways, while Roller Coaster Tycoon had scenarios, ThrillVille reshaped the theme park simulation genre, having you no longer start from the ground up on flat planes, but be dropped into these over-the-top locations with larger-than-life animated set pieces, music, and many interactive elements that made park management less of a chore. The overarching theme of the ThrillVille franchise features you, the nephew of eccentric inventor Mortimer, on a mission to thwart the sabotage of Mortimer's evil corporate rival Vernon Garrison of Global Joy. As you progress in breaking up Global Joy's schemes, you unlock parks, games, and rides to make your theme park number one. ThrillVille isn't the first franchise to put you on the ground of your own theme park, experiencing the rides from a first-person perspective, but it is among the first with a fun narrative that influences your objectives with each park you unlock. Missions in ThrillVille have you managing stats in your park by completing design challenges or achieving target scores in minigames. Really, a better part of the game is minigames. Usually I give such a game a one-way ticket straight to hell, but what's more scary than that is that these games aren't half bad. Like seriously, a little repetitive, sure, but a guilty pleasure if you're into the meta concept of playing a video game inside of a video game. ThrillVille's second edition is arguably easier than the first. Oftentimes, if you just happen to build a custom coaster or place down a bathroom, you achieve 3 or 4 objectives. Unlocking new parks and progressing the story can be done easily under an hour if you can overlook stepping in vomit every 5 feet and paying $50 for a balloon animal. I'm looking at you, Six Flags. If you find yourself strapped for cash, you could always take out a loan or explore building areas for a few $100s here and there, but the most profitable venture is to complete missions which are designed to help you along in developing your park. Detailing each amusement park to your liking takes some creativity, because it's not required that you do so in order to progress. Yet if we were to compare ThrillVille to a title like Planet Coaster, it actually would appear very restrictive. Rides, games, and stalls are restricted to dedicated areas for building, paths within the parks are pre-designated, and coasters are restricted to the boundaries of each zone within the park. Running out of space can be an ongoing nuisance if you're especially creative. This will require you to think a little bit harder about how you set up your park, especially making sure that coasters don't run too close to guests or into other attractions. The greatest downside is having to delete these awesome set pieces in order to fit attractions. In your efforts to improve the happiness of your guests, you can talk with each one to learn how your park can be improved, and if you're feeling especially lonely or desperate, God help you, you can hit first base with your fellow young adults. This is a mechanic that has a huge lingering question mark over its head, but hey, being the manager of a theme park has its perks, I guess. It's pretty easy to make friends. It's hard to say something your patrons don't like unless you're specifically trying to do so, in which case it's almost impossible to piss them off. ThrillVille isn't the prettiest game by any means, but that doesn't really matter. Its low-poly, stylized design is a charming, timeless approach which, if it weren't for the lack of controller support, holds up surprisingly well on PC and 4K. It's funny how some simulators will favor functionality over graphical fidelity and vice versa. You could argue that a game for children doesn't need the visual complexities of, say, a training program for astronauts, but then you get titles like Microsoft Flight Simulator and that turns that theory on its head. With that in mind, you can conclude that that's where ThrillVille stands. It's more of a game than a simulator. By the end of the game, if you haven't already succumbed to hypnotic spells of mini golf and Bandito Chinchilla, the park radio, featuring a variety of tracks just catchy enough to send you into a homicidal killing spree, will become the soundtrack to just about everything you do for weeks to come. All in all, this game was a labor of love, but with more detail-oriented simulators on the market, offering more creative freedoms from the ground up, the only reason I recommend ThrillVille is if you're on a nostalgia trip, and I certainly wouldn't recommend it on PC, as mouse controls for minigames can be really finicky, especially if you're using a dual monitor setup. If you're a collector, I highly recommend picking it up for the 360 and giving it a playthrough for old time's sake. Between minigames, coaster building, and penny pinching, if you haven't learned already from media moguls such as Disney and Universal, the almighty dollar is the lifeblood of your park. So keep your prices high and the lawsuits low, and you'll be on your way to breaking the bank just in time for the New Year's. With that said and done, I'd like to thank you all so very much for watching. I hope I can resurrect some good vibes in you. But guys, I need your help with my New Year's goals, which is to achieve 2,000 subscribers. I know this isn't a crazy goal, but it really is important to me. And this will probably be the last video I make before January. And I hate sounding needy, but if you guys can help out by hitting that subscribe button on your way out, you know, and just a little tap, you'll be in for more gaming and tech content, from nostalgia trips to reviews and popular technology. You won't be disappointed if you're a gamer and love tech as well. Thanks again, you guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. Godspeed in return.